Hello, everybody. This is Tom Eckert here. You're listening to my podcast, Numerology, a GPS for the soul. This is your place to learn about the true power of numerology and how to use it to bring out the best in yourself, understand your loved ones better, take wise decisions, and prepare for your future. In other words, how to live your life aligned with your true destiny. Take your time to educate yourself and share these podcasts with your friends and family so they too can enjoy the great benefits of numerology. Enjoy! Hello there, and welcome to all my listeners. As always, you know me, I'm absolutely happy and excited to share another episode. Today we're going to talk about the free and experimental and sexy number 5. But before I start, if you are new here, first of all, welcome. In this podcast, we discuss numerology as a path for inner transformation, for inner growth, spiritual expansion, self-understanding. I attempt to make numerology accessible and applicable for everyday life matters in a way that we can actually use it to make our life more wholesome, happy, and meaningful. A few things you should know if you want to go deeper into numerology. First thing is that I highly recommend you get yourself a numerology reading if you haven't done so before. A numerology reading is an incredible way to get to know yourself, to get to know your path, your original soul intentions. Also the challenges that stand in your way and how to get through them. In order to get a numerology reading, you can simply contact me directly through my website link. It's provided in the episode description and the podcast description. Next, if you are defining or redefining your career and wish to pursue numerology as a career, if you want to pursue spirituality as your career, then I want you to know that I offer a full path of certification from beginner to expert numerologist. Again, you can check out the link in the podcast and episode descriptions. And if you haven't done so yet, I welcome you to join my Facebook numerology group. The link is found in the podcast's main page, and you can also find it directly on Facebook under the name Numerology GPS for the Soul. Okay, my friends. Having said that, without further ado, let us dive into number 5. What a ride. So let's start off by saying that number 5 is our free bird. And as you've probably listened to some of my previous episodes about the other numbers, I always say that this number is, stands out the most in this way or that way. And I'm going to say that number 5 stands out the most in its total kind of dedication, natural dedication, okay, and to freedom, okay. It's a natural free bird, a very youthful and even rebellious spirit. It's this kind of I like to call him the eternal teenager, the one who loves new experiences, adventures, changes, and sensuality. They're very physical creatures, but like in the more like upbeat, movement-oriented way. They're dynamic, creative, amazing communicators, and have a very natural kind of street wisdom to them. They really kind of, read the who's who and the what's what very quickly. I love saying that their motto is catch me if you can. More about that later. And yeah, indeed, they are a very free spirit that cannot and should not be tamed. So having given this kind of intro, let's dive even deeper into this exciting, sexy, and dynamic world of number 5. So for number 5, really, there's nothing like freedom. For 5s, the experience of freedom is really the foundation, the bedrock of who they are and how they want to live They are natural free birds. They don't want to be, tied down to anything. Commitment is not very natural to them. They will only do what they like as long as they like and as long as they want to do it. Right? So it's more that kind of spirit of I'm going to do what I want, when I want, as much as I want, with whom I want to do that. And that's really the spirit of number 5, and that's the way it should be. Of course, later on, we're going to talk a little bit about the shadow because everything can go into a certain extreme. But like fundamentally speaking, that's really the archetype and that's the way it should be. They are really people that cannot be tamed and bent into into your way of being. And they constantly want to experience new experiences. That's part of their way of understanding freedom. Constantly having new experiences. It feels fresh. It feels new. It feels exciting. They want to feel that kind of vitality, that kind of, vibrancy of life, that zest, that sweet, fun adrenaline moving in their veins, that romantic, exciting, right? Like that falling in love, romance, parties, and so on and so forth. They need to be on the move. They're very dynamic creatures. They're very dynamic personalities, like change spaces, travel, change places a lot. It's all part of that feeling that everything is open and that nothing ties them down. As I said, simply eternal teenagers. Lovely. There's something really, really lovable and really lovely about this kind of energy. It makes you want to be around it because it's like it has this natural youthful spirit to it. Another thing that 5s are really well known for is their sensuality and sexuality. And these are also topics that are really central to the path of number 5. But again, I'm not only limiting these episodes to like the life path. I'm talking about 5 as like this universal energy, right? So it can apply to a personal year. It can apply to a cycle or a pinnacle. We just need to, of course, interpret that properly when we analyze our own charts when the 5 appears in a different location. So we have to kind of take these general qualities I'm describing, by the way, in each episode about each number and kind of translate it in the proper way that will suit the location in which the number shows up in our chart. So 5s love to taste life directly. So not like 7s, for example, that love to observe and understand life. And by the way, if you haven't listened to number 7, I highly recommend you listen to my podcast episode about number 7 to know more. So unlike number 7, that observes and understands life, and that's their love, that's their nature, 5s will jump right into the water, get their feet wet, and taste life with their own senses and bodies. They like to feel things right, straightforward, like with their own bodies. They prefer to jump, not like they don't think prior to trying. They try and then they conclude. They are naturally very sensual personalities with lots of natural sexual energy and sexual drive. They're also naturally sexually flexible and can often be gender fluid. That's also something really sweet about number 5. They're often very connected, very naturally connected to their sexiness and have a sexy expression to them. It's like they have this natural understanding of body and sexiness, and that can be very charming about them. They can use it in a way to inspire, to persuade, to kind of create that kind of romantic, sexy atmosphere. And also they're very experimental and open, sexually speaking. They're willing to try out things, and that's extremely sweet about them. 5s are naturally colorful, creative, expressive personalities. You'll often see 5s, wearing colorful clothes, unique styles that usually stand out. They like to stand out, like color their hair in like whatever crazy colors, or wear all kinds of like unmatching shoes with like really screaming colors, whatever. Okay, this can be like, it doesn't have to be that way, but oftentimes they need to stand out a little bit because they're very expressive and they don't want to belong, right, to any kind of like framework. They don't want to belong to any kind of like rule, or you get me. They are very expressive. They love to talk. They love to interact. They have a very witty, very sharp and smart mind. They're quick to respond. They're really great at finding new ideas, new pathways, new solutions. They're very alert. They're very kind of like perceptive, like with very well-tuned antennas, right? So they are wonderful and talented in finding shortcuts to whatever, to problems and solutions and so on. New ways of thinking, right? Smart solutions. So you can really see their creativity and their dynamism here and their kind of like expressive nature. They're going to try things out. They're going to express their opinion. They're going to be dynamic about it. They're going to be experimental about it. And they always love to experiment, and they're always also willing, and I find it really beautiful. They're always willing to hear new opinions. They're really open-minded people. They're open to hear new points of view, other people's points of view. They're not like really rigid about like imposing their own ways of thinking. They're willing to listen to new opinions, new points of view, and really test them out. No problem at all. If it kind of like, if it like vibes with them, they'll flow along. There's no problem. And that's amazing. They're very, very flexible personalities. Next thing I want to talk about is also their communication gifts. I mean, fives, to be really honest, like when I teach my students about number 5, I really highlight freedom and communication. I think these are like really 2 fundamental qualities of number 5. 5s are amazing communicators. They have really the gift of the gab. They are able to communicate with eloquence, with persuasion, with openness, and also like they're really eye level, and that's really sweet. For example, take a number like take the example of like, let's say number 7, right? Number 7 can also be very eloquent and intelligent, and can can express things very deeply, but they are arrogant in their nature. Again, they're a little bit like looking at things from above because that's their nature, right? They're observers. So they can tend to take that position of like being a bit like looking at you from above, whereas 5s are extremely eye-level people. They're flexible, they're open, they're able to adapt to any person they meet. They remain as I said, like they're very simple about their communication. They don't need to be above or below. They speak to each person in their language, right? So they're able to adjust and adapt, and that's also a natural skill and a very beautiful one. This gift really makes them into natural promoters, natural marketing people, right? Very good at persuading. That's very beautiful. What can I say? By the way, it's very funny. Like I always watch myself when I speak about a certain number, and I find like, for example, I'm talking about number 5, and I see that my speed of talking goes faster and faster, and it's almost like aligning with the energy of number 5. Yeah, maybe you've noticed that, maybe not. I don't know. It just feels like that on my end. Now, before I keep talking about number 5, I just want to remind you that I really recommend getting yourself a numerology reading. I think that's one of the best ways to really feel the life-changing effects and power of numerology, both if you feel like in a junction or crossroads in your life, or need some clarity and empowerment, or even some self-love and acknowledgement, or if you're considering, taking numerology a little deeper as a career, or just for your own interest, getting to experience a reading is really, really wonderful. So as I said earlier, you can contact me directly through my website to book yourself one, and the links are provided in the episode and podcast description. And if you wish to pursue numerology as a career, as a spiritual career, right? Like merging these two things, spirituality and career, I'm reminding you that I offer a full path of certification from beginner to expert numerologist. And you can contact me. You can contact me directly to know more, and I'll be really happy to give you more information and take it on from there. So, moving ahead, street wisdom. Love it. Love it. This is such an incredible quality of like number 5. I mean, they are born with an ability to read situations, people, and places very naturally and very spontaneously. They are extremely adaptable and quick to understand the rules of the game wherever they are. They connect the dots really quickly, the who's who and the what's what. They learn to get what they need and want by naturally blending in, networking, making connections, using their natural charm. They simply know how to get around, and that's always absolutely impressive. They feel kind of comfortable in their own body in this world, a bit like, in English you say street wisdom. I come originally from Israel. So in Hebrew we say about a person who has street wisdom, we say about them they're like a street cat. It's like they're a street cat, and cats are really smart animals. They're very adaptable and, again, untamable. To me, it's like really, they're very comfortable in their own bodies when you look at cats. And I think 5s are very similar. They can be really comfortable in their own bodies. That is, again, unless they're like a more blocked number 5. Okay, for example, an imbalanced number 5, or for example, a karmic debt number 5. Otherwise, yeah, they're very comfortable, and that makes them, again, it makes it kind of easy for them to adapt and get around. Like throw them in a completely unknown culture, setting, country, and very quickly they'll find their way around. They're just going to meet people, connect, blend, hitchhike, whatever. Just like find new friends and just find their way. And that's really inspiring. They're also a very fun and social personality. I mean, 5s are actually some of the most social personalities you get. They make friends very easily. They mingle and connect effortlessly. They are very open people. As I already mentioned before, they're not arrogant. So it's like easy for them to simply, connect with any person. They don't need you to be special. They don't have high expectations of you. They don't need you to be like someone special for them to really enjoy your presence. And also, if you're like a very well-considered, whatever, high status kind of personality, they will just meet you like really easily. They won't like make of you they won't put you on a pedestal. And that's really impressive about them. They just stay simple. It is very easy for people to love them because of that, and also enjoy their presence because they are also, they also give freedom in the same way that they take it for themselves. So they're very allowing. They're giving you a lot of space to be what you are. They love having people around them. They really enjoy social settings, party, laughter, humor, traveling with friends, simply having fun. It doesn't have to have any special purpose. They don't expect you to be someone impressive or accomplished, and they just meet and enjoy you as you are, and that's really beautiful, really. Another quality that I really find relevant to share, I would say, is how 5s are naturally connected to their body. I mean, some people might not realize that 5s are physical beings. I mentioned that earlier, and I just want to kind of zoom in on that a little bit more. 5s are very much connected to the sacral chakra. Okay, it's it's not the only chakra. I would say also the throat chakra is very strong, but the sacral chakra, and it's a physical chakra, but physical more in the sense of movement and the senses, right? And the sensuality and sexuality of life. So fives are physical beings and they love movement, they love dance, and anything that like excites their senses in new, invigorating, and stimulating ways. You'll often see them dancing, enjoying movement, music, beat, dynamic activities by and large. Even as meditators, by the way, they might prefer, meditations that are more dynamic or involve dance, movement, breathing, and so on, right? They simply have a natural talent for movement. When they move their bodies, you very often see that, unless, again, they are more blocked. Now, mentioning being blocked, I cannot, talk about number 5 without talking about their shadow. So let's take a moment and talk about number 5's shadows. It's important to get like a full picture, right? If we want to grow up, if we want to understand ourselves, if we want to understand and interpret like a personal year, number 5, we need to also be aware of the shadow. If we want to interpret a cycle or pinnacle, number 5, we want to also be aware of the shadows, the potential pitfalls, and where we need to be more conscious. So 5s don't have a sense of meaning or direction in life. Right? We talked about their kind of very spontaneous and free energy, but that, when it moves into its shadow, it's a sense of just not having any purpose in life. No direction, no meaning, no spine, no sense of where I'm heading towards. In a sense, they're just floating along. And often it leads to a more decadent life. Wasting their time, eating unhealthy, smoking, drinking alcohol, not sleeping well, just like hanging out, doing nothing, not pushing themselves to achieve anything of real value and meaning. And also 5 is is one of the most addictive numbers, so they can get easily addicted to bad things, to bad relationships, to bad habits, drinking, sex, alcohol, just, smoking pot all the time, drugs, right? They can be easily carried away by others. And you'll see that especially when they're teenagers. So they really don't know where they're going and what's the purpose of their life. And this can get, and they can get pretty lost and just waste their lives. Just waste their lives doing nothing, just smoking pot and being completely dull. And funnily, you see them let's say, sitting in the park in the sun, smoking pot every day. It seems very free, but in fact, it's a decadent form of freedom. It's not real freedom. Their life force is kind of you can really sense it. If you're sensitive, you're going to feel kind of like a dull and gray life force. It's not colorful, creative, and movement. And in movement, it's stale. So there's a fake sense of freedom there, and that makes them actually more foggy. If you look at their eyes, there's kind of like a fogginess, and they're not truly bright and free in the real sense of number 5. And another thing is that they tend to not learn from mistakes, and they don't like listening to others' wise advice, let alone follow it, right? Because the good side is the strength, so to speak, is that they're not tameable, and that's beautiful. But when that goes to an extreme, to an imbalance, they simply don't listen to anybody, and that's bad for them, because they do need to listen to people. They do need to learn, and so they can often remain really childish, like just rebellious teenagers, even when they're 60. And that's kind of sad because they simply get stuck. And that's really to their own detriment. They can be also, one more thing, I want to mention here is that about their shadows, that they can also be really cunning and manipulative personalities. using, for example, their sexuality and their witty mind and persuasive talents to manipulate people in order to get what they want out of the situation. And they can also be very careless, very selfish, self-focused, and not intimate at all. So, you kind of want to befriend them, and as long as there are like many people around, they're very friendly, but the moment it becomes like one-on-one, they don't care about you. They don't think about you. It's always about them first, and their wishes. So now, right, we've seen both the light and the shadow, the strengths and the weaknesses of number 5. Yeah, so we can see that 5s are a very dynamic, interesting personality that can go into extremes. They love adventure. They're very magical and uplifting, but can also get a bit lost if they don't have complementing energies. In other words, numbers that balance them. They remind us that life is a joy and an adventure to be lived and explored, and that we don't always need to plan in advance, but rather jump into the water and enjoy the ride. They are a reminder that freedom is an essential and fundamental need of our soul, body, and being. Right? So, like each number, like every number, they also are a cosmic energy, right? That reminds us of something fundamental that all of us need at times. So I hope that this episode keeps inspiring you, my friends, to learn more about your own chart and your family's and friends' charts and go deeper into numerology. Having said that, just don't forget that if you wish, you can get yourself a numerology reading to know more about yourself. And you can contact me to get one through my website link. And also, if you wish to pursue numerology as a career, remember that I have and offer a full path of certification from beginner to expert numerologist. For both a numerology reading or numerology studies, you can contact me directly to know more. The links, as I already mentioned, are provided in the episode and podcast descriptions. Okay, my dear friends, much love to you wherever you are. And as always, I'll see you in the next episodes. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you did, and you want to go deeper into numerology, check out my website, tom-eckert.com. You can also book a numerology reading or even study numerology yourself through my courses. I'll see you in the next episode.